All right. Welcome in, everybody, to our live post-game show here on the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Disgusting way to end that game, to say the least. Disgusting way to play that game. Embarrassing way to play that game, to say the least. Just can't happen. I mean, certainly when you've got a player in the locker room during the week talking about going undefeated, you certainly can't lose the next game to the Cleveland Browns. That is about as embarrassing as it gets, especially when you have that type of conversation as well. Completely humbling, completely frustrating. And there's no easy way to kind of sugarcoat it any other way than that. Cleveland's defense was legit. We knew they were legit going into the game. Nobody made any bones about that. Offensively, you still have to perform better than that. The offensive line was atrocious, absolutely atrocious. That's completely unacceptable in this game. Rich Bisaccia's special teams. What do we do here? Like that? That's a joke. That's an effing joke. This is not some crazy scheme that Cleveland came up with to block a kick at the end. It's a dude rushing off the end. Like, figure it out. Like, that just simply cannot happen. It's one thing if like some guy times it up and jumps the line and blocks the kick or does something crazy, whatever. You're just allowing a guy to come around the edge and block a field goal. That's brutal for Rich Bisaccia and company. Absolutely brutal. Cannot happen. Absolutely cannot happen. And I mean, Green Bay had multiple opportunities to get away out of this game. I mean, Joe Flacco had 142 yards passing on 36 attempts and an interception. Yeah, they had 96 yards rushing on 19 attempts. It didn't even really matter at any point in time. And actually, a handful more of those passing yards came after the blocked field goal to get into field goal range at the end, which never should have happened in the first place. This is a game that you should never, ever lose. You should never, ever lose when your defense plays that well. If your defense holds, again, should not have been 13 points, right? Should have been 10 if you can just get your field goal and whatever. And by the way, the defense is responsible for 3 points in this game. The defense is responsible for 3 points. The touchdowns on Jordan and the 3 points are on the special teams for allowing the field goal block to about the 50-yard line. And then they kick 56-yarder at the end. The defense legitimately allowed 3 points in this game. Even if you wanted to say like, hey, once you have the turnover, you still have to hold them out of the end zone. That's still at most they allowed 7 in this game, and Green Bay lost. That's ridiculous. Cleveland had 57 plays for 221 yards and a turnover in this game. That is as good as you can possibly ask from Jeff Hafley and the defense. As good as you could possibly ask. They completely shut down Cleveland, gave Green Bay multiple chances on offense to put up the requisite points to get the hell out of Cleveland with a win, and just refused to do it. I mean, just refused to do it. As far as Jordan goes on the throw, that's a rookie mistake. Credit to Cleveland for disguising it kind of well. I mean, he's just expecting Delpit to go with Kraft on the play. You have to be able to throw with vision on that. You're reading Delpit is what you're doing on that play. If Delpit continues with the tight end, you have the receiver open. So the eyes don't even need to go to the wide receiver. You're just literally reading Delpit. Delpit goes with the receiver or I think it was the tight end on that play with Kraft on the play. Then you throw it to the receiver. If Delpit falls off at all, you don't throw that ball. I mean, that is a relatively easy read. I know what he's seeing. I understand what the vision is on that play. It just, you cannot make that throw. You have to be able to read that appropriately. So for somebody who's done such an incredible job, it was almost his 10th consecutive regular season game without turning over the ball. Just a rookie level mistake at that situation in the game. And I understand that the offensive line afforded him almost no time all game long. So he's trying to get the ball out of his hands, making sure he doesn't take a sack in that situation. The circumstances in that situation dictate the one thing you cannot do is turn the ball over. Anything else is fine. You could have freaking punted the ball for all I care at that point. You just cannot turn over the ball in that situation. So a plague on a lot of houses on this one, starting to me with the offensive line. that, I get the Zach Tom situation. It's unfortunate he goes down early. Aaron Banks can't make it through the game, but to come out like that, like even like right away, first of all, even on the first play, but if it was just like the replacements at those positions, right? If it, to an extent, I guess it was because it was Morgan at that spot, but Jenkins played brutal. Sean Ryan didn't play great. Rasheed Walker's got a false start at the end. Jordan Morgan was abysmal in this game. That's a completely unacceptable performance by the offensive line. And I don't know how you can play that part. It'd be one thing too if it's like, it's Jordan Morgan versus Myles Garrett, and that's what's just getting you cooked. No, it was everything else too. There's just no time to throw, no running lanes, no nothing. And, quite frankly, I would say some unimaginative offense. It makes it really difficult on Matt LaFleur when you can't pass protect and you can't run block. You can look down on the sheet as much as you want. There's not much on that play calling sheet that looks super attractive when you can't pass protect and you can't run block. So to me, offensively, it starts with the offensive line. A brutal decision by Jordan down the stretch. Way too many pre-snap penalties. Malik Heath has a false start. Jordan Morgan's got like 2 or 3. Rasheed Walker had one at the end. That stuff can't happen. And then, at the end, to have the ability to just kind of still seal it with a field goal and a kickoff. And all you've got to do is make an extremely makeable field goal and not have it blocked. I mean, it's the double whammy of like, it not only is it blocked, but it's blocked setting them up in field goal range as well, or just about in field goal range. They got 10 yards after that and were able to kick the field goal. Just embarrassing. Now, there's no silver lining here. I'm not going to look you in the eye and be like, oh, this is what you kind of want to have. No, that's BS, right? But I will say, you have to go through adversity throughout the course of the season, and you better learn your lessons very fast in the NFL as to what can get you beat, and you better correct it. The truth of the matter is, if Green Bay learns nothing from this game, it's all for naught anyway. Like, any talk of anything down the road is laughable, because if you can't go into Cleveland and beat Cleveland, the rest of it doesn't matter. So how do you improve from this game? It's very clear through 3 games of very shitty run blocking that you better be able to run the football much better than you've run it so far. That's a non-starter. You have to be able to run the football better. That going into Dallas this week in their revamped run defense, that better be job 1A, is that offensive line needs to be better at run blocking. You better be able to pass protect better than that against a good defensive front. Listen, Cleveland's a good defensive front. It ain't that damn good. They ain't like, hey, we're going to sack you every play. Good. That needs to be better as well. Clearly, Jordan's got to make a better decision in a clutch situation. And for the, 4th decade running, the special teams decides that it wants to be an absolute joke in key moments. If you can't play special teams in key moments, if you cannot show up for every single game, if you cannot pass protect and run block up front, then none of the rest of this matters. You couldn't have asked for anything more from Jeff Hafley in the defense in this one. You literally could not have. I mean, you maybe another interception, another turnover, something like that, but that is a all-world performance on defense all throughout the game. Holding them again. I put 3 points on the defense on this one, 3 on the special team, 7 on Jordan. That's how you get to 13. And the offense, to me, in this one accounts for 3 points offensively, because they score 10, but they give up 7 on the interception that sets them up, 1st and goal from the 4-yard line. That's a touchdown for the other team. Might as well be a pick 6. So to me, the offense is at a +3 in this one. The defense is at a -3, and the special teams is at a -6, because they take 3 off the board and give 3 to the other team. If your offense is only at +3 net for the game and your special teams is -6, good freaking luck. Good freaking luck. Yeah. Yeah. And injuries, of course, as well. I can't imagine Zach Tom is going to be back anytime in the near future. They're going to have to let that thing rest. That's a problem. Aaron Banks goes out with a groin injury following his previous injury. That's going to be a problem. And you're probably looking at now Jordan Morgan or Darian Kennard at left guard coming up, and probably Anthony Belton at right tackle, at least probably through the bye week. So offensive line, not necessarily going to get any better. I know it sounded like John Fitzpatrick went to the medical tent. I don't know for sure if that ended up being anything or not. That's a pretty minor one in the scheme of things. But yeah, just a disappointing performance all the way around. Appreciate you guys being here. Almost 1,000 people in chat. So thank you guys a ton. Wish we were talking about a more fun topic for today. Unfortunately, we are not. But it is what it is. I do want to shout out Luiges Pizza. Unfortunately, no victory pizza today, but sometimes you need a Luiges victory pizza to cope as well and to kind of get you through the painful moments. And that's where I usually go, to the fresh dough pizzas. That's what I'm going with today. I'm going with the fresh dough. No victory. It's going to taste a little bit more bitter since there's no win with it, but I'm still going with my Luiges Pizza, following it up tonight. But yeah, make sure to follow them over on luigespizza.com and at Luiges Pizza on social media. It always tastes good no matter what, but it certainly would be a little bit better if it was a victory pizza. That's for sure. All right. Let's get to our super chats here. Joseph, thank you for becoming a new member. Julian, you as well. And Brian, you as well. You guys are awesome. Really appreciate you guys. Randy, wide receivers still can't beat man coverage. I don't know that we know all that well. We saw, Golden get open deep. We saw Wicks win a couple routes. Dobbs won a couple routes. The reason I say is we don't know. I kind of need to watch it on the all 22. I think the other thing is that there was no time to throw down the field. The thing that we talked about is it's basically a race of, can you get off a man coverage before the Browns defensive line can get to the quarterback? And the Browns were at the quarterback immediately, and Love had no ability to keep his eyes downfield in this game. So I'm not willing to put too much on the wide receivers at first glance, just because there was no time to get the ball down the field more often than not. To me, this has had a lot more to do with the offensive line than it did with anything else offensively. I'm not necessarily giving anyone a pass in this game. The offense was abysmal overall, but the offensive line is, to me, where the start of the problems go in this one. Thanks for the therapy session. Love Matt LaFleur, but his inability to handle trap games is infuriating. Yeah, I mean, this clearly goes on Matt. Don't get me wrong. It's a bad look for everybody. There's not Jeff Hafley and the defense get a pretty solid grade overall in this one. I don't think you can hold too much against them in this one. Everyone else has egg on their face. There's no getting away. Offensively, quarterbacking, head coach, it's just bad. It's just really bad in this one. So no mistake there. To me, again, offensively, this just comes down to protection up front. And if your guys cannot protect up front and can't run block up front, everything is pretty much a moot point offensively. It doesn't matter what play call you make or anything like that. Now, again, it's still on Matt to get those guys ready to go up front. The Zach Tom situation, I think, really probably hurts them. They're expecting him to go. He only makes it one play. Aaron Banks doesn't make it through the game. Again, those aren't excuses, though. You still have to be able to go out and have a semblance of an offense that scores more than 10 points and has a turnover that really costs you at the end. So, yeah, I don't know that it's tough to say like, oh, the head coach didn't have him ready to play, because the defense was ready as hell to play that game. They played fantastic. And yes, Matt, it's not just Jeff Hafley. Like, that's Matt still oversees everything, right? But the offense clearly was not prepared in the way that they needed to be. And the offensive line certainly was not. In the special teams. Again, this is where we paint with broad strokes, right? Zane Anderson makes an amazing tackle to open the game. Bo Melton's flying down the field. Daniel Whelan punted well in this game overall. But what we're going to remember is the blocked kick. I'd have to go like Matthew Golden letting it hit, or not fair catching it from around the 20 and letting it get inside the 2 was a pretty terrible play. So yeah, there's a couple things here and there. Savion Williams had a decent return on the kick return. Again, I don't think in totality the special teams had like this, oh my God awful game overall. But when you have one major play, that is, again, the one thing we talked about. Let's go through this, by the way. Okay? Let's go through our keys to the game in this one. All right? Intensity and energy. The defense, yeah, I thought they played with good intensity and energy. Maybe not quite to the first 2 weeks, but they still dominated. So, but the offense certainly not having that intensity and energy. The crowd, it didn't have a ton of Packers fans. I mean, it seemed like there were some, but it certainly was more a Cleveland crowd. The obvious ones. I didn't think they let Myles Garrett, completely annihilate them by any stretch, but the defensive front certainly did. Turnovers, huge turnover in a key moment. Special teams allowed the field goal block in a key moment. The run game, Cleveland outran, or just was a better, more efficient run game than Green Bay in this one. Attention to detail. Nope. Tons of pre-snap penalties, a missed block on a field goal kick. Attention to detail was terrible in this one. Packers wide receivers versus man coverage. Again, tough to tell because the offensive line played so poorly. Rashawn Gary and Rashawn Gary had a legitimately great game. Jerry Jeudy didn't beat them. Njoku and Fannin had that one play where he ran through some tackles. Njoku, I think, had that catch at the end, but mostly didn't beat you. And then the Browns kicking game, well, they came up with a 56, 57-yarder to win the game at the very end. By the way, the other thing that cannot happen, they had an offsides penalty on that game-winning field goal too. Like that's awful. You like, imagine he misses that. That is a really tough field goal. That's probably like a 60% chance of going in. Something like that, maybe at best. And if he misses that and you're offsides, holy shit. So yeah, that's another one where even in a key moment where, yes, they made it anyway, that's an abysmal play to be offsides on that play where you're going to give him another chance, even if he missed it. Even if he missed that, he's going to make the next one in all likelihood. So they were basically giving him 2 chances at that field goal. Just really, really poor from Rich Bisaccia at the end of the game there in company. And again, I'm sure, he's coaching certain stuff to the standard that he wants it at. It doesn't matter if guys aren't executing for you. And to me, that's again, completely unacceptable. Titletown T, thank you for the super chat. Are you kidding me? Whose call was it to run that play before 4th down? Are you talking about on the final drive, Titletown T? Just the run play? I'm assuming before. So to me, that's the right call in that situation. People may not like it. And again, assuming that I'm thinking of the right play that you're talking about here, but the run play on 4th down is 1,000,000% the right call there. You have a 40-some yard field goal that just win it in that situation. You're leaving 20 seconds left on the clock for Cleveland. That ultimately is not going to allow them with no timeouts if you kick it off to kind of get back in field goal range. So it basically just comes down to, can you make a 43, 45 yard field goal? And to me, that's a acceptable outcome there because you don't want to throw. We already saw a throw that got picked off. You don't want to have an incomplete pass. You don't want to give Cleveland time when you do make that field goal. So just running a play, making sure you hang on to the football and, running that clock to set yourself up for a game-winning field goal. To me, that's the right decision in that moment. You just have to execute. And they did not execute in any way, shape, or form on the field goal. And that's pathetic. It sucks. It absolutely sucks, but it just can't happen where you're allowing a block field goal in that situation. Why does this one hurt so bad? Because it shouldn't happen. If you go to Baltimore today and Baltimore wins on a game-winning field goal or something, or they just win the game, all right, you went to Baltimore, you lost to Baltimore. Tip your cap. If you lose to Philly, if you lose to the Rams, Tampa, you lose to a good team, by all means. Like, that's going to happen any given Sunday. You're facing off against a good team right? But you cannot go into Cleveland as 7.5-point favorites with all the momentum in your corner and lose that game. Especially when you had multiple opportunities just to seal that one, right? Like, you're up 10-0 with, what is it? 6 minutes left? It was... So when you're up 10-0 with 3.5 minutes left because they get the ball with about 9.5 minutes left. And they go on a 12-play, 63-yard field goal drive that lasts 5 minutes and 48 seconds. They kick the field goal with 3:38 remaining in the game. And you go end around, interception. They get the touchdown. after the Evan Williams pass interference, they get the touchdown run by Judkins. Then you get the ball with 3 minutes and 1 second remaining. You get the deep ball to Love to Dobbs with the pass interference. Love to Kraft for 18. And now you're just trying to run out the clock as much as you can. 1 yard run, minus 1 yard run. Then a stupid 5 yard penalty by Rasheed Walker. And then a 2 yard run by Josh Jacobs. And it brings you down to 27 seconds left. You block the field goal. They get it at their own 47. A really dumb play by Micah Parsons with the neutral zone infraction. Puts it at Green Bay's 48 yard line. That's an unacceptable play by Micah, by the way, as well. His second. It is something I noted when he came over of like, he does have a lot of neutral zone and offsides penalties, but that can't happen. 3 yard pass incompletion, and then 8 yard pass incompletion on the spike, and then a 55 yard field goal to win it at the end. But yeah, 3.5 minutes left is when they get their first points. That's why it stings. That's why it stings, is because you had no right losing that game at any point. And yet they found a way to lose it. And that stings in a pretty significant way. And it's just like all the goodwill that you get by beating Detroit and Washington over the first 2 weeks. It's like, well, you just could have beat Cleveland and lost one of those games. This is better because you would rather have the win in the AFC. You'd rather have it against a non-divisional or NFC opponent. There's no tiebreaker that's going to be lost here. But this was one of the easier games on your schedule all season long, and you just shit it away, for lack of a better term. So yeah, that sucks. That absolutely sucks. Alex, appreciate you, my friend. That was a pathetic performance on basically all fronts. Horrible turnover by Love. Special teams still terrible. Defense had way too many penalties down the stretch. This week in practice better be tough. Yeah, to me, I'm willing to give the defense a lot more of a pass on that one when you allow 3 points with 3.5 minutes left. And those are really only the ones that I would put on their shoulders. Not taking anything away from the defense on this one. Defense should have been able to allow 17, 18, 19 points, in Green Bay's offense still should have had plenty of opportunity to go down and win that game, meaning they should have scored more than 20 points throughout the course of the game. So I'm willing to give the defense a hell of a lot more pass in this one. Everything else, I certainly am not. Again, what I will always tell you, I mean, certainly Rasheed had probably one of the better games of the offensive linemen. Firing does nothing. Firing does nothing. It just makes you worse. Imagine you just fire, cut, trade everyone every single time something goes bad. Be the worst franchise in all of football. Just got to grow from it. Got to figure it out. Got to get better from it. But certainly an unacceptable performance in a lot of different ways in this one. You don't have to trust me in everything. All right. You can fan however you want to fan. I promise you, you will be a better fan if you can get out of your mind to just immediately fight. Like, take Jordan Morgan in this game, right? Jordan Morgan played abysmal. If your first thought is cut Jordan Morgan, that's the stupidest thing you could possibly say. This is a first round pick for a reason. Even if he is a 9th or 10th best offensive lineman, he would be the 9th or 10th best offensive lineman for pretty much every team in the NFL. And you just don't give up on talented players. That's a really bad strategy in the NFL. If you need to bench him, that is by far and away a good enough thing to call for. That is a very fair thing. In fact, I said the same thing. I would have gone with Kennard after his 3rd penalty of the game. Let's make a change there. Let's reset. Let's get back to the drawing board with Jordan Morgan and maybe get him to one position where he feels more comfortable and stop putting him at 5 different spots. To cut him is a very idiotic thing to say. It just is. I'm not trying to call out any specific person, but we have seen a multitude of players who were not very good from the beginning, who went on to grow and to become very good players at the end. So to just immediately be like, all right, that's enough, give up on the player. Can you imagine if the Packers just like decided to cut Jordan Morgan tomorrow? Like, it'd be and he was terrible today. He was absolutely terrible. So I promise you, it's okay to say they were terrible, or that's an unacceptable performance, or bench said player. To immediately go to fire or cut or trade or get rid of, it's just the lowest common denominator, lowest hanging fruit for fans. And it's just stupid 99.9% of the time. There comes a point in time where fire Joe Barry should be a real legitimate thing. And there comes a point in time where firing, Mo Drayton, Mike Pettin, Dom Capers, etc. There comes a time and a place where there is a reason to call for that. Today, to fire or cut anyone after that particular game is ridiculous. I do think Rich Bisaccia, man, one of the things I said that was the most surprising thing of the offseason when we did our like superlatives was still extending Rich Bisaccia. Keeping him, I was still like, whatever. Didn't necessarily love it, but I understood keeping him. Extending him felt absurd at the time. And I think he's probably a good assistant coach. He's been awful as a special teams coach so far. So yeah, that's one that should probably be on the hot seat a bit, to say the least. But just again, the immediate fire him. It's just not realistic. It's pretty stupid. And it's not what you want your, again, imagine that the franchise, every time something went wrong, they just started firing and cutting people. Like, imagine how much disarray and just god awful situation the franchise would be in. That's not good for business for anyone. Alex, B-Day today. What a horrible effing game. Alex, I hope the rest of your B-Day goes much, much better. That's a tough one. Who's our friend that was at the game where I said if you lose, was it B Brown, or was it like who was it that I said if you lose this game, you're not allowed to go to games anymore? We had one of our members in here that said they were going to the game. But yeah, this is a frustrating one, Alex. I hope the rest of your birthday goes better, and happy birthday, my friend. Green Bay can't buy their own hype. It was an AFC loss. I think they bought too much probably into their own hype and felt like they didn't have to go out and maybe perform their best football in this one. I put a lot of this on the offensive line. That to me is you just can't do much as a quarterback or a running back when your offensive line plays that poorly. That to me is issue 1A. You've got I'll have to go back and look at who performed poorly. Let me say this. If you look at my grades so far through 2 weeks, okay? My offensive line grade through 2 weeks, this is not including this game, I'll just reiterate that, was a negative 2.0. Maybe I should have seen this coming more and should have called it out more. Maybe that's on me for not saying it ahead of time. I did negative 2.0 grade on the Packers offensive line through 2 weeks in 2 games that they won pretty easily. I have a feeling it's going to be a lot worse after today. That was one that when I went back and I watched the tape this past week against Washington, I was pretty astonished at just how bad the offensive line played in that game. I had a negative 1.7 grade on them in week 2. So a negative 0.3 grade on them in week 1, negative 1.7. I have a feeling it's going to be a whole hell of a lot worse in week 3. Yeah, that is a major concern at this point. That's going to be something that they have to get cleaned up. Guys are going to have to play better. Elton has been surprisingly not great at center so far. Rashid's been okay. He had a bad week 1, had a good week 2. We'll see how he grades out this week. Morgan was my lowest graded player last week. My guess is he's in the conversation again this week. Couldn't really tell. It seemed like Belton was mostly okay, but didn't get a great look at it. I don't know. Offensive line, certainly a major issue right now for Green Bay. How bad of a game was this for Morgan? Bad. Should we expect to see significantly less of him going forward? Right now, I would think that has to at least be in the conversation. This loss really hurt. I agree. Thanks, Andy, for the content, even in these hard moments. Yeah, I mean, again, we always knew that there would be some of these along the way. It doesn't make it necessarily any easier, and we certainly didn't see it coming in this one, which is what really stings about this. But yeah, that one sucked. And it's still fun to talk Packers, even in these moments. And, I know there's going to be a lot of anger this week. Excuse me. But you deal with it, and hopefully Green Bay learns their lesson from it. Better to learn it now than in big games remaining through the rest of the year. It doesn't take away big wins from Washington and Detroit, at least not entirely. Those are still really big wins, but it just is a very stark reminder that you have to play with the same energy, intensity, and focus against every team every single week in the NFL. And if you take your eye off of it for one moment, you end up with a really shitty loss in Cleveland, Ohio. And that's exactly what happened today. Brian, it happens. I will stay optimistic. With that being said, they better come out with their hair on fire next week. Yeah, I mean, the last thing you want is to go with a loss and go 2-2 into the bye week. Definitely not in the must-win category or anything like that. But I expect, and I think everyone should expect a much better performance from this Packers offense next week. They just completely crapped away a really impressive performance by the Packers defense. And the defense had no right to lose that game. I'd be pissed if I were the defense after that one. So yeah, hopefully much better against Dallas next week. Brandon, thanks for being here. Between some of the coaching decisions and players not seeming to care, this may have been the worst game I've watched in the Matt LaFleur era. No discipline at all. I can't quite get into the worst one. I think there have been some where they just completely no-show game. The defense showed up in this one. That's not nothing. Yeah. So I'm not giving a pass to the offense or at the end, the special teams either, but the defense showed up in this one. So there have been other games like some of those ones where it's like 38-3, where they just, some of those West Coast ones early in his career where the team as an entire group completely no-showed. So I don't quite put it up there with the worst one. That Saints game in Jacksonville to open the season comes to mind immediately. This isn't probably in the top 3 or 4 of worst losses, but it's one that stings a lot and is certainly not endearing to anybody on this entire organization. I'll put it that way. That's on Jordan running the play or Matt end of quarter. It's 1 minute at least. The problem is that there isn't accountability. Find out in the press conference who made that decision. It can't happen again. Not now, not ever. That's on Jordan running the play or Matt. Oh, end of quarter. All right. So end of quarter situation. There's 1 second left on the clock. Actually, there's like 0 seconds left on the clock when that ball gets snapped. I don't know what the situation was there. I don't know if Matt said it in the press conference or not. I'll have to go back and listen to it after. But 99, I've never seen Green Bay run a play in that situation. Every single time it's cadence. Every single time it is cadence. I don't know if the center thought that they got someone to jump and snapped it. I don't know if Jordan was expecting the play. I'm not exactly sure what happened. I don't know if their plan, maybe they had a plan of like, hey, every single time we don't snap this ball, like as it just gets to 0, we're going to snap it at the last moment and trick them and think that they're not going to be ready for it. I don't know. I don't know exactly what happened there. If it was a mistake, if it was on purpose, I don't know. Whatever it was, it didn't work. I appreciate the fact that Jordan did not make a stupid decision over the middle on that play. Probably still needs to just throw it away. I think he's trying to buy time for something to happen. And in that process, by the time Schlesinger closed on him, he just didn't have time to get rid of the ball and had to eat the sack. It sucks, but yeah, I'll have to see if we get an answer on Matt on exactly what happened in that situation. I don't know who that was on or whose decision that was, but definitely a weird decision right there to snap that ball with basically no time left. Possible consolation is this was just one of those days where everything goes wrong. Hopefully it keeps us humble down the road. Help me feel better, Andy. Yeah, I mean, again, you have to learn these lessons at some point. Guess better to learn them early. And hopefully this lights a fire under the team and just shows that they have to play a better brand of football consistently if they want to be considered one of the best teams in the league and they ultimately want to win a Super Bowl. What was it like in... I think I have this right. Give me 1 second here. Maybe it was 97 that it happened. Yeah, it was in 97. The Packers, now that was in like week 12. You know, they went to the Super Bowl that year. Obviously, they lost the Super Bowl, but they played a game against the Indianapolis Colts that were like what, 1 or 2 wins on the season, something like that. And yeah, they were either 0-10 or they were 1-10 going into the game. And Green Bay went into Indy and lost it 41-38 against Indianapolis's coach, Linde Infante, former Packers coach, of course. So even the 97 Packers who went to the Super Bowl had their stumbling block against a Colts team that was the worst team in football that year. Sometimes these things have a bizarre way of happening. I hate that it did. It's not fun in the moment, but it gives you an opportunity to learn from your mistakes. And I would expect that all hands are on deck this week to figure out some of the special teams miscues and why the offensive line is not performing anywhere near up to par through the first 3 games of this season. Box Boy, let's hope the kick in the mouth will get us back on track. I think Boxboy, what most, I like the positivity, and I'm with you. I think what most people would say is, why is it taking this team a kick in the mouth to get back on track? Why should this team even have to get back on track? This is a really damn good football team and roster that is 10 times as good as the Cleveland Browns, and yet you went in there and lost that game despite an unbelievable defensive performance. Shouldn't have to happen. I hope that it does. I hope that they do learn from it. I hope that they do recognize that they just got kicked in the face and that they're going to have to respond to it. But why does that need to happen before you kind of get back on track? I think that's probably what a lot of Packers fans are asking right now. Hayden, thank you for the super chat. More in Jordan Morgan. Is it overreacting to think he was a bad pick in the first round given his performances so far? Our O-line depth is looking much weaker now. It's been a really, really disappointing start to this season for him. I think like most early draft picks or just draft picks in general, young players, it's probably not wise to give up entirely or to make big sweeping proclamations in what his sixth game that he's played in, something like that. But he was bad last week and he was really bad today as well. That's not a great sign, certainly. Yeah, it's not trending great early on. I'll just put it that way. There were signs in tape in college. It's why he was kind of the one player I didn't want at that point. I still think he has the ability to be a good offensive lineman in this league and play, much better football than what he's played so far. But he's got to find a way to be much more consistent than what he's shown over the first few weeks of the season. No, he was injured last year. I know they've played him at multiple spots, but I'm with you in the fact that it doesn't look great right now. And the offensive line depth and just the offensive line in general looks much weaker than we were expecting. So it's frustrating, but there's a lot of season left. I have a lot of faith in Adam Stenavich, Luke Butkus, and this offense to kind of figure it out. But they're going to have to protect a whole hell of a lot better than that if they want to be a contender come January and February. Who do you blame for the loss the most? The offensive line, for sure. Offensive line the most. Jordan can't throw that pick. Field goal block can't happen. I mean, you need all of it to go wrong. If the offensive line plays even just remotely better, they win that game. Jordan doesn't throw the pick, they win the game. If the field goal is not blocked, you win the game. You need a comedy of errors in order to lose that game. They went full 2014 Seahawks, maybe not quite that bad, but they took all of the little opportunities they could to ruin a very good defensive performance and give this win to Cleveland and to lose an opportunity to go to 3-0 in the year. Sucks. We need to get Justice on to see if he's changed his mind on Bisaccia. Rich has been killing us for years now, even by his own admission. It's got to be better. It just is completely unacceptable that happens in that situation. To go out and have a field goal to win the game and to allow a block off the edge, you have to be able to go out there. I mean, that's day one install on special teams. This is as easy of a play as it gets. Again, if they came up with something exotic or again, jumped the snap, had a count on it, did their homework, whatever, by all means, you just cannot have a guy fly off the edge and block that kick. Cannot freaking happen at all. Just got back to my apartment in Cleveland. That team completely imploded, lost the game in the trenches, in my opinion. How do we learn from this? Yeah, I mean, again, I think you have to play every game with a certain level of energy and intensity. I don't think they did that on offense. As you said, Luke, they lost the game in the trenches. You have to be able to protect up front. Again, there's not many play calls in the play sheet that look good when you can't run block and you can't pass protect. That's everything to me right now. Can't have catastrophic special teams mistakes. Can't have a big error in a big moment from Jordan. Cannot block that way and win a game. So those are the three things that have to be better. And if they can clean up those things, I feel really good about this team still. I feel great about the defense, but that's a game you never should have lost, and they found a way to lose it. And implode is probably a fair word in this situation. Thank you guys again for all the super chats. Appreciate the 1,000+ of you who are in here. You guys are awesome. I know even following a loss, it's not quite as fun. Wish we were going full victory Sunday here, but we'll work through it all. And I appreciate all of your support. Realize that this may come off as an overreaction, but fire everyone and sell the team to Canada. This is the way to do it, Brandon. If you are gonna go the fire route and you are gonna go like cut, trade, then at least do everyone. Just all of it. Sell them to Canada. Get rid of all of it in one fell swoop. I at least appreciate that, Brandon. SHM, the offensive line failed. Jordan is a quarterback that will make a boneheaded play, and special teams still sucks. I think Jordan in totality has done a really great job of not making those boneheaded plays, and it's clearly been some intention of his, but that was a really big boneheaded play in a big moment. And I'm sure he's going to hate himself for that one and eat himself up over it a little bit. But I don't think Jordan had a terrible game in that game. That last play is brutal. Don't get me wrong. I really loved his leadership throughout the game. Like, you could tell he was a bit more intentional in some of his talks to his offensive linemen and things like that. I love seeing that from him. I thought he made a great play on the touchdown throw. Thought he made great decisions up until that point. I thought, when there were receivers open down the field, he put it on them. Just a really bad play in a really key moment. And again, he's going to have to figure that out, learn from it, and hopefully not make that mistake again. Where was Kraft? How do you not get him more involved in this game in particular? Again, when you can't protect up front, it's difficult. I mean, I think they actually did try to, considering he was coming off of the injury too, and considering they couldn't get much going. He had 4 targets in the game. That's as much as, Jacobs had 9 targets on like checkdowns and stuff, little swing passes. But outside of that, Kraft, Wicks, and Golden were next up with 4 targets. Just tough to get anything going. I mean, when your offense has, what was it? When your offense only has 230 yards total in a game, you're just not going to see many positives on the box score, right? So they got him the ball 4 times. He had 3 catches for 29 yards. Yeah, you would have liked to have seen him have a bit better opportunity. You would have liked to have seen everyone have a bit better opportunity. But when you can't pick up first downs, it's not going to be conducive to anyone having good box score numbers. Jack's Frozen Pizza as penance for a loss. That would be fitting. I don't need to throw any other pizzas under the bus. I just prefer Luigi's to all the other ones. Jordan Morgan trashed Jude, gave up 3 penalties and game-winning field goal block. Was he the one that was responsible on the field goal block? I'd have to go back and look at it a little bit closer. If that's the case, I'll just have to go back and watch it. I didn't watch it close enough. I saw Kraft seemed to be a bit in no man's land, but yeah, I'll have to go back and watch that one a little bit closer. I believe the block field goal was on the O-line, typical for how things went today. The O-line was such an unbelievable soft and weak letdown. May God bless Morgan, but I'm cool on him playing. Yeah, I would have taken him out of this game. I would have put Kennard in. It was a very poor performance from the first round pick from 2024. Hopefully he bounces back in a big way. His career will not be defined in totality by this game, but it certainly needs to be a whole hell of a lot better than that moving forward. Anything you got to make me feel hopeful? Because, man, it's hard to still believe this is a Super Bowl team. I know it's one game, but it was bad. Yeah, every team goes through a game like this through the course of the season where something goes just completely awry, right? This game will also not define the Packers on the season. They lost, 6 of them on their way to 2010. They were, I think, 10-6 that year. And there were some really poor moments. That Commanders game in Washington was a comedy of errors in that game. I remember because I was there that season. Wasn't that the year where you had the Dan Connolly, kick return? Some things went comically bad in that season as well, and they won a Super Bowl. So yeah, just like they didn't win a Super Bowl after their first 2 games, they certainly didn't lose one after this one. But as I've said all day long, or all chat long, they're definitely going to have to learn from those mistakes. Scotty B45, member for 16 months. Do you think Matt is too conservative in late game situations? Seems like he is trying to run out the clock rather than put the dagger in most second halves, even in relatively close games. Not in this one. The reason being is because the offensive line couldn't do anything, right? So I thought he was aggressive getting down the field. They got down the field, and then he knew once they could just run 3 plays and get it down to 20-some seconds on the clock, that was the right decision in that moment, especially just right after Jordan threw a real boneheaded pick. So Jordan just came off a real boneheaded pick, and your offensive line hasn't protected all game long, and you have the ability to run the clock down if you just run 3 times to 20-some seconds with a 40-plus yard field goal, a makeable 40-yard field goal for the win. That to me is the right decision in that situation. That the play calling at the end didn't cost them. The blocked field goal cost them. The play calling through the rest of the game, but again, I don't know how much you can do when you can't pass protect and you can't run block. That makes it very difficult. So no, I thought that was the right decision. I thought it at the time, just run 3 times. I would have loved if they could have found out a way to get the first down. Had it not been for maybe that false start penalty, maybe they would have been a bit more aggressive on third down, given Jordan like a run pass option or something like that. But I think when it's 3rd and 10 and you can't pass protect and you don't want to take a sack, I just think you got to run in that situation, run the clock down, make your field goal, kick it off, and make it that they don't get a field goal with 20 some seconds left. I think that's the right decision. You just have to execute, and they did not execute at the end when it came to that field goal. Ugly game, but it was weird. Is it weird that I'm not worried? Browns have a good defense, and our O-line had a bad day. Pass pro hasn't normally been the issue. Just got to hope there's an answer at both guard spots. Yeah, they just offensive line has to be way better. Jordan Love on his late interception said, quote, "I've got to find a way to see him." Yeah. Yes, you do. That was a tough one. I'm pretty even keeled on this stuff. You guys probably know that by now. This to me is not like it's not like a dagger on the season. They're going to be just fine. They're going to win in Dallas next week. I really truly believe that. They'll bounce back. I don't have much overall concern about that. They have a Super Bowl defense. That's great. The offense needs to find its rhythm, and the run game, it has to start with the run game. If I'm Matt this week against Dallas, the first thing that I'm doing is like, I'm approaching this game like they did when Jordan went out with the injury last year. Like, all right, we're going to have to find a way to rush for 180 yards in this game if we want to win. We're going to have to come up with a rushing offense that can take advantage of the other team and be creative with it and be really concentrated up front to be a great run blocking team. That to me is where it starts. Everything this week should offensively revolve around the protection and the blocking up front. That you just can't win in the NFL when you're blocking that poorly. And the offensive line was really, really poor today. I don't think that is going to be the norm for them, but I do have some concerns on the offensive line through 3 weeks. And that's one of those positions where if you need an offensive lineman at the trade deadline, there's no guarantee that one of those guys comes available. It is tough to find them. And you kind of just have what you have. So this is up to Adam Stenovich and Luke Butkus, Matt LaFleur to figure out a way to get these players that they have on the offensive line playing much better than they did today. And yes, hat tip to Cleveland as well for playing some very good defense. If I hear Matt LaFleur say, give the Browns defense credit, that's a good group, I'm going to table flip. It's the Browns. No, Dennis, their defense, we talked about it going into the game, the pregame show already. Their defense is awesome. They were really good against Baltimore. They were really good in week 1 against Cincinnati. Their defense has been awesome so far. I mean, in the conversation for best defense in the league, in my opinion, through 3 weeks. So, that doesn't absolve Green Bay of their errors in this one. It doesn't give them a hall pass. It doesn't say like, oh, yep, just because of that, Green Bay was fine. No, Green Bay wasn't good enough in this game. And that sucks. But the Browns defense is legitimate. And like I said, for my money right now, from what I saw on taping them in the first 2 weeks and then watching them this week, they're to me in the conversation for the best defense in football right now. They're playing that good. It has been not easy sledding for any of these teams, including Baltimore or Cincinnati in the first couple of weeks of the season. Yeah, we went over that, Sean. It stings for a variety of different reasons, but just I don't think what anyone was expecting in this one. ASAP Mamba. This is the worst regular season loss we've had. Talked about that. I disagree. Can't remember a worse one that we've had. Nobody to blame but ourselves. I don't know about Jordan Love, man. That pick is completely unacceptable. Unreal. I agree. I think Jordan's going to be totally fine. It's his first pick of the year. Just picked the wrong time to have it. He's overall taking great care of the football over his last 10 regular season games. Just picked a very, very stupid moment to have a very stupid moment. But yeah, Jordan's going to be just fine. I don't have any major concerns here. The offensive line needs to protect better, and you just can't make that decision in that situation. There's definitely been worse losses, though. This is a 3-point loss. I know it's Cleveland. Yeah. I totally get that. But, we don't need to probably go through it. But the one, so what Matt got here in, was it 18? Yeah. There was it was 19. Sorry. There was the 26-11 no-show in Los Angeles. in 2019. There was the 37-8 no-show in San Fran in 2019. There was the 38-10 loss in Tampa in week 6, which was basically a no-show. The loss in Indianapolis that year in overtime was a heartbreaker. It felt awful. The opener to start the season in 2021, which was a 38-3 loss to open the season on the road, but at a neutral site where Aaron Rodgers led the team with 133 yards passing and AJ Dillon led the team with 19 yards rushing. That one would be above this one for me. They opened the season in Minnesota in 2022 with a 23-7 loss. That's up there. The loss to the Giants overseas was a sting, and then they followed it up the week after with a loss at home against the Jets, 27-10, in a game they basically no-showed for. That one was probably worse. Probably nothing in 23 that was relatable. Probably nothing in 24 that was relatable, but there have been worse losses in the Matt LaFleur era. I'm not sure if that's supposed to make you feel better or worse, but I can't quite get there with this one being the worst of all of those. Looked to me like Golden could have taken it to the house, but he just ran out of bounds, ended up punting. I don't know if I think maybe Jordan just let him a little bit too much outside in that one. If he leads him a little bit more inside, he's at least going a lot further. It's just the attention to detail stuff in this one, right? There's going to be, as they go back and watch the tape, and as I go back and watch the tape, I think there's going to be a lot of very small moments that ended up being, if they just one or two things, small things go just a little bit different, Green Bay maybe even easily wins this game, but that was not to be, I guess. Not like this could happen, but man, I wish Hafley was our head coach so we could for sure keep him. The defense is just so much better than our offense. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I will say again, I think that's a ridiculous premise. We have no idea what Jeff Hafley is going to be as a head coach. Just because he's a great defensive coordinator does not mean he would make a great head coach. I think he's going to be a really good head coach. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that is an absurd premise, and you don't go away from a coach who's had a ton of success to go with a mystery box candidate that, if you're lucky, he would have as good of results as Matt LaFleur has had so far. So I just think that's a ridiculous kind of connotation in that, vein. They're not firing Matt to keep Jeff Hafley. Jordan Morgan, rough game today. Oh, comment was to run a play at the end of the third quarter. Yeah, I don't know exactly again what happened there. I definitely saw your second one. Jeremy Orr, thank you for the super chat. Amy, thank you for being here. Here's the adversity you've been talking about. Andy losing a game you had no business losing. Yeah, stings. Let's see how they respond to it. I don't know. I'll feel better if they go out and just absolutely crush Dallas next week. I'll feel a little bit better. That'd be nice going to the bye week, 3-1, 3 wins against pretty solid teams, 1 win against a team you had no business losing to. But I guess I'd still take it going into the bye week. A little bit disappointing you're not 4-0 after those first 2 wins, but let's see if they can get a big win against Dallas and kind of learn from some of those mistakes. Yeah, definitely had that feel to it today, Jeremy. Rich should have a boiling seat, in my opinion. Not saying to fire him right now, but he's got to be better. Go Pack Go. Trying to be a little positive, guys. I know it's hard. Yeah, no, that can't happen. Can't happen where you have a few big moments each game on special teams, and you have to come through in those big moments. That was a big moment. You've got the kicker that you need to make that kick, and you cannot allow that to be blocked at that situation. Just cannot happen. Fans seem to criticize Love more than most. The line gave to him no time at all. Yes, it was bad throw, but he wasn't awful. Jordan would be the first to tell you that at the quarterback position, you get the best of it when your team's doing well. You get the worst of it when your team's doing bad. Just is the life of an NFL quarterback. I didn't think he was bad in this one up until that interception. The interception can't happen. And in a key moment where your team was going to win the game, if you just throw an incompletion there, like if you just would have dirted that one into the ground, Green Bay wins that game. Defense isn't giving up a touchdown in that game. They just weren't going to. So for Jordan, you have to know in that situation that you have to have perfect clarity. A first down is nice. It's not everything. You can punt that ball away and win the game. And that's why, I know that people are saying on that final drive, Matt needed to be more aggressive. Quite frankly, on that third down, I know you want to pick up the first down. If he just runs on that play, Green Bay probably wins this game. So, it's a double-edged sword a lot of times. I know everyone wants to have that go for the heart and, kill him, and don't let him get back up sort of mentality. But sometimes the best play is to just let the group that's winning you the game win the game. The offense sucked all day long. The defense was not going to allow a touchdown. Just get off the damn field, let your defense do the heavy lifting, and get the hell out of Dodge. And in hindsight, instead of Jordan throwing on that play, if they just would have ran with Josh Jacobs or done an end around or something like that, screen pass, that probably would have been the better decision in that moment. People would have hated it. They would have crucified Matt for it, but it probably would have been the right decision even in that moment. LaFleur's play calling was galling. Again, I disagree with this. It was hampered by one of the mentally, physically softest performances from an O-line that I've seen. They don't look weight room strong at all. That part I agree with. Terrible, terrible, terrible performance from the offensive line. Again, it's very difficult to look down at your play sheet and say, oh, this play will work when you can't pass block and you can't run block. Now, that's basically absolving Matt LaFleur, the play caller, to say Matt LaFleur, the head coach, didn't do a good enough job, right? To get that offensive line ready, because that's still under his purview. So I'm absolving the play calling because the offensive line wasn't good enough. The offensive line falls under his purview as head coach and head of the offense. So again, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. I'm saying, hey, maybe don't take it out on the play calling on this one because there's not much good there, but the offensive line needs to be better than that. And that also falls on Matt LaFleur's plate. Juan, thank you all for the super chats, by the way. Uneducated fan here, but is there a pattern of how Matt performs on close games? Seems to be a significant shift in play calling and game management. I don't know. I'd have to probably do a deeper study into that one that I don't have on the top of my fingertips tip of my fingertips right now. But I don't know. I'd have to look into it further. I thought overall, again, the decision at the end of this game to be conservative, run the clock out, kick the field goal was easily the right one. And in fact, again, he probably should have been more conservative on that third down where Jordan throws the pick. It's tough. It's tough. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't sometimes. Biggest contributor to the loss was penalties. Scoring drives were blown away and critical stops were bungled because of penalties. Yeah, I guess I just kind of all loop it in the offensive line. Now, granted, one of them I think was on Malik Heath, but for the most part, all those penalties were Jordan Morgan, Rasheed Walker. Maybe there were a couple other ones there, but it was the offensive line that was derailing themselves for the most part throughout a huge, huge chunk of that game. They got the lead and just tried not to lose the game. Same old song. They have got to change that mindset. What? So they get the touchdown, 7:41 in the third quarter. They get the ball back in the fourth, up 10-0. They get a 7-yard completion to Jordan Love, a 2-yard completion to Golden, and then that's where Jordan Love gets sacked on that third down. So they were so that is a throw on first down, end around to Golden, throw on third down that ends up being sacked. They're aggressive on that drive. And the funny thing is all I saw on social media on that drive is, why didn't you just run the ball on third down? Just get the first down. He was being aggressive. They were trying to take a shot down the field. If you look, the receivers on that play were running vertically. So they're trying to take a shot down the field and have that let's end this game mindset right then and there. The next drive, first down pass again. They're still up 10-0. You run up the middle for 2 yards. Then you hit the deep ball down the field to Matthew Golden for 34 yards. An aggressive play down the field. Then you get a 1-yard loss. You throw again, it's incomplete. You throw on third, it's incomplete. You have to punt the ball away. So not a non-aggressive drive on that second one after they took the lead. The next drive is a 4-yard run, a 3-yard run. So run, throw, and then that's when you have the interception by Dontavian Wicks, but they're still throwing for it on third down in that situation. And by the way, really difficult to fault them for trying to run the clock in that situation when there's only 3 minutes left in the game. And if you pick up a first down, it basically feels over. And then On the next drive is the drive where they drive down the field to get in field goal range for the game-winning kick. So on only one of those drives, after they took the touchdown play, could I argue that they weren't being aggressive in some way? And that was probably on the one where they needed to be, again, conservative, and they threw the interception on third down. So I disagree with that sentiment. And again, if anything, your line's not blocking in that game. I don't know how aggressive that you want to be. The players up front were not good. That to me is what it comes down to. There's plenty of blame in this one. I don't feel like they played to not lose in the second half in this one. I really don't. 2010 back-to-back overtime losses by field goals. Yeah, that did happen. I've lost a lot of confidence in Jordan Love. I don't trust him to lead and make clutch plays. Run blocking is also terrible. See, I don't know how you kind of take away that one. He led them right down the field, 10-10, for the opportunity to kick the game-winning field goal. Immediately after throwing a pick and having a big mistake, he leads them right down the field for a game-winning field goal with 20 seconds left, and a very makeable game-winning field goal with 20 seconds left. That, to me, shows character in this one, that he's able to do so. And like once he got in field goal range, kind of had the ball taken out of his hands a little bit, right? So I definitely don't take that away. He made a really boneheaded play in that situation. It's his first pick of the year in 3 games. It's his first regular season pick in 10 games. I think to jump to any conclusions based off of that one throw would be extremely premature. And again, I love the fact that he got the ball in his very next drive and drove him right down for a game-winning field goal. If it's not blocked, we're talking about a game-winning drive from Jordan Love, deservedly so. Put him in a position to succeed after the pick. Terrible pick. Not absolving of him at all in that play. Cannot happen. If he doesn't throw that, they win the game. But I at least appreciate the fact that he bounced back and immediately led them down the field. It was a terrible pick, RTX Nikki. It was a terrible pick. Can't happen in that situation. How many penalties was it today? Felt like I bet it wasn't actually that much, is my guess. Oh, never mind. It was a ton. Okay. 14 penalties for 75 yards. That is god awful. Now, some of those were like defensive ticky-tack ones. I'd have to go through and like count each one and to see. I'll definitely do that on the rewatch today and talk about it tomorrow. But yeah, I didn't think it was quite that bad. It definitely was. 14 for 75 is brutal. Zero panic. Panic doesn't help anything. You learn a lot more about how the team responds to this. And if they come out flat next week and lose to Dallas, that's where you panic. If they come out and play great against Dallas and learn from their mistakes, it's totally fine and acceptable within the course of the season to have a game like this. If you see more than one game like this, or if you go back to back, or they can't get out of a rut from this, then you panic. Right now, it's a one-off and you treat it as such. But if it becomes anything more than that, that's when you start hitting the panic button a little bit more. Is Luke Fickell's influence spreading throughout the state? I feel, for one, would be okay with the Packers paying his buyout to stop this. Yeah, hopefully not. That's not a great situation either. Brewers, I saw, were losing today too. Did they end up losing? Holy shnikes. The Seahawks are already up 35-3 against the Saints. I don't know whoever I told to take Seattle in their Survivor League today, but I feel pretty good about that decision now for whoever I told that to. And Rattler's not even like, he's 13 of 19 for 89 yards, hasn't seemingly had a turnover. Did they not even have a turnover? What the hell happened in this game so far? All right, so Seattle goes down, Njigba touchdown, Torrey Horton 95-yard punt return for a touchdown. Then they must have got a turnover because it was a 2-play 11-yard drive. Groupie kicks a field goal. They go 38 plays. Was that another big kick return? Then Kenneth Walker, 4-play 76-yard, 35-3 Seattle. Good gravy. That is not great for New Orleans. That is a very, very bad football team in New Orleans. Just remember, Packers fans, it could always be worse. But yeah, it looks like Brewers lost today too. So tough weekend for Wisconsin sports. Badgers lose as favorites. Packers lose as favorites. Brewers lose back-to-back, right? They lost yesterday too. Is that right? Already forgetting. Oh, no, they won yesterday. They lost 2 out of 3. So they lost Friday. Lost 2 out of 3. So yeah, rough weekend for Wisconsin sports. Going to the game next week, expect a huge defense and offensive aggression. I think that's a fair thing to expect. Hopefully, I mean, the defense just needs to play the same as they have through 3 weeks so far. Offense needs to be a hell of a lot better. What just happened? Why are people tagging me? I don't know. All right. Figure that out later. RTX Nikki. After that, they have to blow out the Cowboys. Let's hope that they do that. Our offensive problems come from the run blocking. Jacobs is met at the line of scrimmage so often it is hard to get into her. Yeah, it's not on Jacobs right now. Again, this comes down to the offensive line on offense. We're up 10-0 on Tampa, loses 38-10 in that Tampa game. Yeah, that was another brutal one. I didn't wear the Wisconsin socks that I wore for both wins this season. That must be why we lost. Be better, Hayden. Definitely grading you in the negative for this week, my friend. 920 Cheese. What have you been seeing from the O-line on run blocking? Seems like they can't move anyone. Yeah, just attention to detail. Can't move anyone. Haven't been super physical. Haven't really got some of their double teams down the way that you would like them to get kind of, again, some of that movement and just creating some space. Just needs to be better all the way around from a technique, footwork, handwork, all of it. Just hasn't been good enough through the first 3 games of the season so far. For the Browns' perspective, is it time to start Brian Drew or tank and try to get Bo Callahan? Hey, credit to the Browns today. They won that game. Packers still going to the Super Bowl. My 20-0 prediction may be wrong, but we'll mind God, please save our offensive line. No 20-0. No more undefeated talk. Let's burn that at the stake. Being aggressive was running a play before the start of the fourth quarter that did nothing for you. It was third down, not second. Pathetic if you ask me. Again, this is where the talk of you need to be more aggressive or you need to be more conservative. You're saying you just want them to run the play that's going to work. If they're aggressive and you get a big shot down the field to Matthew Golden, oh, hell yeah, nice job. I love when they're aggressive. Keep doing that. They're aggressive and Jordan Love takes a sack on the play. Should have ran the ball on third down. What do you do? It's 3rd and 1. Yeah, just got to run the ball. Just run the ball. Why are you being so aggressive? And at the end of the game, you run the ball twice and you get nothing. Got to be more aggressive. If you run the ball there and Josh Jacobs rips off a 25-yard touchdown, great play call. Love that play call. Just does it work or not is what we're basing it off of. That's all it comes down to. The people who complain about late game play calling never acknowledge all the times it works, only the few times it doesn't. Yeah, kind of what I was just saying, Jake. At the end of the day, just go out and execute. The truth of the matter is being aggressive does not win you games. Being conservative does not win you games. If it's, Dan Campbell was ultra aggressive on some 4th down decisions against Green Bay last year, and it worked amazingly. Other times you need to be far more conservative because your defense is just balling out. You don't need to go for the kill on offense because your defense has got you covered. You just have to gauge what you need in that situation and that down and distance. What's the right play? Have the pulse of the team. But it really just comes down to, can you execute regardless of if you're being more aggressive or if you're being more passive? Can you go out and execute what's being called for you? And today, the execution on this team was not good enough in any real way whatsoever. All right, give me 1 second here. All right. All right, so let's get our sleeper picks in for Monday Night Football. We have to look forward to something now, right? So we have to get away from our negative thoughts on this one and start looking forward to hopefully the Lions blowing one to the Baltimore Ravens. Would suck if Green Bay loses to Cleveland and Detroit beats Baltimore. So we definitely get to hate on Detroit this week and hopefully cheer for the Ravens. I'm going Lamar Jackson, more than 48.5 rushing yards in this one. Sam Laporta, more than 41.5 receiving yards. And Derrick Henry with a touchdown as well. Of course, you can get your picks over in on Sleeper. I'm definitely going to need to make some Sunday Night Football picks for tonight as well, just to get me out of the funk that I'm in right now. The best part is that you can get a 100% match up to $100 by using code PACKADAY. Again, a 100% match up to $100 using code PACKADAY over on Sleeper. What are you waiting for? now is a great time to get after it. Make sure to check out terms and conditions over on Sleeper, as terms and conditions do apply, operational in more than 25 states. So check out Sleeper today by utilizing that code PACKADAY. All right, back to our chat. I'll try to answer a couple more questions here. So again, Titletown T, I don't know exactly what happened there, but one of two things. It was either snap by mistake, or there was some sort of error there, or they were trying to catch the defense off guard, because the tendency that Green Bay has is that they always go for a fake cadence there, or they liked something that they saw in that situation and wanted to take advantage of it. So I guarantee you, when Jordan gets up to the line and he's not thinking, oh, we're going to get sacked on this play. So they saw something that they liked. The defense covered it well, and it ends up being a negative, yeah, we'll have to try to get a little bit more information on exactly what happened on that play. But until I see something or hear something, it's just unfortunate that they didn't have a better play call in that situation. But clearly when they snapped it, it's not like they were thinking, oh, we're in a massively disadvantageous situation. Let's snap this as quick as we possibly can before the end of the end of the quarter. They clearly saw something that they liked, or again, it was just a mistake and it wasn't meant to be snapped in the first place. Appreciate all of you for all of your incredible questions. I know it's definitely a disappointing day for Green Bay. A lot of comments in chat. Holy cow, you guys are incredible. Lots to say today. A lot of hacker accounts in here too. Sorry for that. LaFleur had to know he couldn't run against this Browns defense. He should have been using screens and short, quick passes to maybe open up the run. Peter, if you saw early in this game, they didn't try to run much inside, right? Like they were trying a lot of end arounds to Matthew Golden, some screens. They did a lot of quick, short passing game. They didn't have a ton of intentions on running inside. Yeah, I know Jacobs ended up with 16 carries in this one, but it's not like that's a ton. And very early on, that they were pretty intent on not trying to run up the middle of this defense at all. So they definitely had visions of trying other stuff than just running up the middle. But yeah, at some point you got to be able to block up front, and Green Bay certainly was not in this one. Let's see. Did you see the refs not spot the ball before Flacco spiked it and the kick? And Njoku was down at the 36-yard line, and then the center snapped the ball from the 38. That would have ended the game. I did not see that, Spencer. I'll have to go take a look at that closer. Excuse me. Just want to circle back to earlier on the thought on worst losses to say again. My vote is for the loss to the Tommy DeVito Giants in the road. That's a good one too. That is a very good one. Too many, unfortunately. Think we'll really need to protect the quarterback. Jordan Love could barely be touched earlier. Now they were destroying him. Really need work. I do give some credit to Cleveland's defense. They were fantastic up front, but again, that's not letting the Packers offensive line off the hook in that one. They need to be a lot better. Also, good news is that Dallas's defensive line is nowhere near as good. Would have been maybe if they still had Micah Parsons, but thankfully they do not. Jacobs' average was 1.9 yards per carry, 16 carries for 30 yards. Wilson had 6 for 25. Golden had 3 for 9. Savion Williams had 2 for -1. On the day, 31 carries, 81 yards, and a 2.6 yard average. I actually think too that Matt probably wanted to throw more, but they couldn't pass protect either. Again, that's the whole point of when you cannot block anyone, it just makes it really, really, really freaking hard to do much of anything on the day. So yeah, brutal, disappointing to say the least. All right. Just getting back to a few more questions here. Gonna head out here, guys, in just a second. Total collapse fair. Do I see the issues today with the offense as a long-term issue that opposing teams will attack, or is this just a one-time thing? I think we'll find out a lot in that game against Dallas. Not that Dallas can attack in the same way that Cleveland can defensively, but I don't expect this to be something. They scored 27 in their first 2 games. I think they're going to be fine putting up points on offense. I think this was definitely a setback. They'll learn from it. They'll go back to the drawing board a little bit on offense, but it all just comes down to the offensive line up front. If the offensive line protects better, they're going to be a hell of a lot better than we saw today. Cleveland's defensive line completely kicked the ass of the Green Bay Packers offensive line. There's no two ways around it. Did anyone else believe the Browns were going to block the Packers field goal? I don't know that I believed it, but it was definitely not out of the question when it lined up. That's for sure. I'll put it that way. Point one, we can't run the ball, move the ball. 2, the defense is playing good. 3, up 10-0 late. 4, burn to win. Garrett off the field yet snap when he is at the end of the third quarter. Play ridiculous if you ask me. Again, I think you're making way too much out of one play. Titletown T. That play did not decide the game in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, it's a sucky play in that situation, but that to me that's the least of concerns at the moment. Penalties, special teams collapse, silly turnovers. That's the Packers playbook for losing to lesser teams. Sure is. Kind of basically went over the playbook and said, you need a bad special teams play. You need a bad turnover. You need to not be able to run the football. And what happened? They couldn't run the football. They had a bad turnover. They had a bad special teams play. And lo and behold, Cleveland's able to win the game. How concerned are you with Richard Sherman's belief that Love has problems playing under pressure? At 0% whatsoever. What's our AI predictions looking like now, Andy? Also, the bourbon will be flowing tonight. I'll pour some out for the homies. Let's redeem our transgressions next week and reenact our 2023 game against Dallas. Go Pack, go. That'd be a good way to get this taste out of the mouth, both the bourbon and the win next week. I'd have to go back and look at the AI prediction. To be fair, the AI prediction was also before Micah Parsons, so don't know how much that one holds too much weight anymore. Times like this, we must RELAX. Yeah, no need to over too much. Just one game on the season, but a very frustrating one nonetheless. What is it that Rich Bisaccia even does? Yeah, tough one today for Rich in the special teams group. No two ways around it. I disagree with that. He was at one point like 16 of 20 or something like that on the day. And again, just wasn't able to protect. 18 of 25. Again, he took 5 sacks, not on him. The one he needed to throw away, but the line couldn't protect. He hit the ball down the field to Golden. I didn't think there was inaccuracies there for Jordan at all. I just thought, they needed to ultimately protect him better, and I think we would have seen a much better version of the offense. Love had one of the worst plays of the game. Okay, there's no question about that. It's fair to criticize him for that play. I think anything above and beyond that play is going too far for his overall performance in this one. I don't think there was much more that he could have done given what he had given to him in this game from a pass protection and run blocking standpoint. I thought for the most part, he made the plays that were there, took care of the football up until that point, and then had a really bad decision. And then even after that, helps the team get all the way down the field into very makeable field goal range. That is a game-winning field goal drive to end the game had it not been for a block kick. So I think jumping to far too many conclusions on Jordan in this one for one bad play, an abysmal play, no two ways around it. But I think anything above and beyond that right now is a step too far. How are they so undisciplined? It's insane, right? I mean, how many penalties they have? They have 14 penalties. Again, I'm willing to take a lot of stuff off the defense. I know they didn't have maybe the greatest fourth quarter, but I'm not putting anything on the defense in this one. They did everything they could in that game, in my opinion. Wasn't the block kick by the lineman in the middle, not the guy off the edge? Oh, I thought it was the guy off the edge. Was it not the guy off the edge? Interesting. I swore it was the guy off the edge, but maybe I'm wrong on that. I'll have to go. I didn't watch it closely. I didn't rewatch it. I saw the guy come flying off the edge and assumed it was him. So that just means there was maybe multiple breakdowns on the play, which is not necessarily any better. But yeah, brutal way to end that game. All right, friends, I am going to get out of here. I'm going to be prepping for the podcast later tonight, rewatching the game, getting all my notes in order, and we'll break it down in much greater detail for you guys tomorrow on the Monday morning show. I'll see you guys there. I'll be live tomorrow with Mike Wall. That's going to be a must watch because definitely going to want his takeaways from this one. We'll be back on Tuesday with Mike as well. Members only Q&A on Tuesday. Wednesday will be Paul Farrington and Paul Brettel. Thursday will be Justice Mosqueda, likely the grades video as well on Thursday. Friday with Carmen Vitale. Saturday, TBD. Sunday, and then Friday happy hour. Saturday TBD. Sunday will be our pre and post game shows and previewing Packers Cowboys in a big Sunday night football matchup. Packers Cowboys should be a fun one, and hopefully a big bounce back for Green Bay next week. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Appreciate all of you, the 1,000+ people that were in chat and the billion super chats. You guys are the absolute best. I'll talk to you very soon, but until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.